Welcome to the Single Dad Project. It's been a while since I've done a show by myself. The whole month of May, which we're on the last day of, we've been doing interviews with our single mom friends. And today I was supposed to have another interview with another mom, but she had to cancel. A lot of moms had scheduling conflicts. We would have had a lot more interviews for you guys, but we'll get them as we go. The next month in June, which is a couple of days away, we're going to start doing single dad interviews. So I'm going to interview single dads that I know. That's going to be a lot of fun. But for today, I decided I was going to take the 3 interviews from Heidi, Tareai, and Megan and condense everything that we talked about in the interviews and break them into the projects that I have for the show. So you're going to see me reading a bunch of stuff today. I'll try to look at the camera when I don't read. But what I have for the show today is our common themes for single dads, insights from my friend Heidi, my friend Tareai, and my friend Megan. So today we're going to distill these insights shared during the Single Dad Project podcast into one common theme per project. And the projects that I talk about are spiritual, relational, intellectual, physical, financial, and business. Each theme combines their shared wisdom, the mom's shared wisdom, which credits their contributions and provides a practical takeaway to help single dads thrive while building a legacy for their children. Just to summarize and recap real quick, I wanted to do the interviews with the moms, the single moms, to give us as single dads a perspective on what they go through. So these interviews were very insightful. They're over an hour long each. So if you get some time during the day, like if you're driving to work or taking the train to work or whatever, check out the interviews. They're really insightful. So let's start with the first project, the spiritual project. The basic overall theme that the girls shared was cultivating inner peace through faith and forgiveness. And basically what that means, Heidi, she surrendered control. Tareai talked about resilience on faith and forgiveness. And Megan had personal spiritual practices like praying the rosary. They highlight the importance of finding inner peace by letting go of resentment, embracing personal faith, and nurturing God-given gifts. Single dads, you guys can stay grounded and purposeful using some of these tips that the girls talked about. And I bring it up in the other videos that we had prior to doing the interviews. I give you little tips and stuff like that, but we're going to go through this from their perspective today. So why these tips matter? Inner peace through spiritual practice or forgiveness reduces stress, aligns you with your values, and models resilience for your kids. We're always going to give you, or at least I'm going to do my best to give you guys quick little practical tips. That's why I call them projects and not anything else. To me, a project is something that you're putting some effort towards. So the takeaway on the spiritual project is spend 5 minutes a day on a personal spiritual practice, whether that be prayer, journaling, or reflecting on a gift like your kid's talents. Or my daughter smiles. It's one of those little things that goes off inside of me where I'm like, man, I appreciate that I get to have those moments with her and see her smile, hear her laugh, things like that. Another quick tip is write down a private forgiveness letter to release one grudge, focusing on your inner peace. And this is something I talked about in one of the other shows where I was giving you ideas on what I came up with that were helpful for me. On the next project, the relational project, the theme is fostering healthy relationships through empathy, boundaries, and presence. And what that means is Heidi's emphasis on showing up consistently, practicing empathy, and breaking toxic cycles. Tareai's focus on being a safe haven and setting boundaries for your kids. And Megan's strategies for protecting her kids' views of her the father of her children. Dividing responsibilities and prioritizing emotional health all point to building strong, healthy relationships. These actions reduce conflict, shield kids from negativity, and create trust. So the thing that the moms were doing was they were finding ways in their own specific personal ways to build a relationship for their kids where they had a good bond with their kids, and they also shielded the kids from, for lack of a better term, the stupid things that the dads were doing. I've been in that world before where my daughter was younger, and I'm not having total agreement with her mom. If she wanted to talk shit about me to my kid, I would have understood. But what Heidi and Megan did, and on some level what Tareai's single mom did, was they shielded them or their kids from talking shit about the dad, which is one of the things that we want to do as single dads on the reverse side. We don't want to talk crap about the mom to our kids. Shield them from that shit. Like, you deal with it and keep them out of it, basically. So why this matters. Empathetic, consistent presence, being there for your kids, and clear boundaries foster stability for your kids and improve co-parenting dynamics. So the takeaway, here's a little practical tip to do, is this week be fully present for one event, for one of your kids' events. I've mentioned in the show, like when I go to my daughter's competitions, I was always there. I was always showing up. And part of the reason for that is because in my experience with my dad working 2 jobs, he never had time to come to a lot of my competitions. So I wanted to make sure my daughter knew I was there. So being there, fully present. Another tip is to offer a supportive gesture to your co-parent, to your ex, sending a kind text or just acknowledging the stress that they go through. One of the things that the girls talked about in the show was like how stressful it was for them raising their kids. And in Heidi's circumstance, the dad not being around, not wanting to, I don't know if he didn't want to engage, but he wasn't engaging, right? So that added stress. And one of the things that we can learn from this as single dads is try to have a civil relationship with your ex. And when she's stressing about stuff, just be like, hey, I get it. I understand where you're coming from. We're both stressed out. And then maybe offer little tips to help them relieve some of that stress. The last tip that I have on here for you is set one boundary to prioritize your kids' emotional health. And when I was writing this out today, one of the things that I thought about for a boundary for my kid, and this was just happened out of accident, but I was very aware of it when it happened, was I was talking to a friend of mine who we were at my friend's restaurant. I took my daughter out to eat, and she was probably like 4 or 5 years old at the time. And my friend was a female. So she's at the table, we're talking, and I could see my daughter just start crouching in her chair and getting really small. And then she starts saying, Daddy, I don't feel good. I want to leave. I want to go. And I was like, are you okay? You feeling fine? She said, no, Daddy, I want to go. And to me, I didn't realize it until we got out in the parking lot, because I told my friend, hey, I'm sorry, my daughter's not feeling good. I got to get her out, get her home, get her out of here. Once we got into the parking lot, my daughter perked up and she's like, when are we going to the park now? And I'm like, you said you weren't feeling good. And I realized in that moment, and I had other friends of mine, other females confirm this for me, is that she was probably feeling some kind of like separation, that I was giving all this attention to my friend who was a female. So one of the boundaries I have had for my kids' emotional health is I never brought around girlfriends, whatever. None of them ever met my daughter. One did, but that's because my daughter was older and she was asking about that specific girlfriend. But if I can give you guys as single dads any advice, is just you be the one that's present for your kids and forget the girlfriends for at least for a while. Let your kids adjust to, they're not with mom and dad being together anymore, even if it's been for years. I still think it's one of those things. I mean, I talk to friends of mine whose parents were divorced, and they talk about how it's not a comfortable feeling when your dad's bringing the girlfriend around and shit like that. So it's just my personal view. Just, I would stay away from it. The next project, the intellectual project, the theme was that the girls talked about growth through learning and understanding your kids. And what that means is Heidi's use of intuition and tools like The Life You Were Born to Live, which is a book by Dan Millman, Ray's love for reading and tailoring parenting to kids' traits, and Megan's resilience on research and therapy for positive mindset underscore the value of intellectual growth. Learning about your kids' unique needs and seeking knowledge through books, communities, or research empowers better parenting and decision making. Why this matters. So, understanding your kids and expanding your knowledge sharpens your parenting and models lifelong learning for your kids. The takeaway here, or the practical tip, is read 10 pages of a growth mindset book. The example I have here is Excuses Be Gone by Dr. Wayne Dyer, and I've got a little story behind that I'll share here in a second. Join a single dad group to gain insights from other dads. Just a quick shout out here too. I've been, the long form videos are going on YouTube, but I've been editing them down and putting the shorter videos on TikTok, and some of the dads that have been reaching out on TikTok. Thanks for the shout out, guys. That's pretty cool. Last little tip here, observe one child's behavior and adjust one interaction to suit their needs. So the first tip that I gave away here, read 10 pages of a growth mindset book. And the example I have in here is Excuses Be Gone. This brings up a memory. I was training a client, personal training. She wanted to lose a bunch of weight. She had told me she was getting married in a year. So I'm like, all right, we got plenty of time to work on this. And the only time that we could get together was at 5 a.m. because she started work at 7. And I'm not a morning person at all. But when you're getting paid and you got a client, you show up. So I'm coming into the gym early, and my personality is very chill, very mellow. But even with this person, I was like, hey, good morning. How's it going? And almost every time she came in, she was like, I'm so fat. And I was like, all right, don't worry about it. That's why we're here. We're going to work on this. And it took a lot of extra energy on my part just to fight her negativity. And one of the things that I had done for myself in this time frame was I listened to this book, Excuses Be Gone, by Dr. Wayne Dyer online, and I thought it was such a good book, audio book, that I bought it because I wanted to have the physical book. So she comes in telling me, she's like, I feel so fat, and this and that. And so I brought in the book that I had bought for me, and I gave it to her, and I said to her, I want you to read just 10 pages of this book. We were training Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So I told her, read 10 pages on Monday. When I see you on Wednesday, tell me what those 10 pages were about. Wednesday, you read another 10 pages. Friday, you tell me what those 10 pages were about. And we repeat the process. So I give her the book, send her home with the assignment after the workout, read 10 pages. We'll talk about it on Wednesday. On Wednesday, she didn't read 10 pages. And I was like, hey, that's cool. Life happens. You get busy. So I told her, I said, we just go from day 1 on to day 2 and start all over again. Read 10 pages and tell me what the 10 pages mean to you on Friday. Friday comes. I ask her how she's doing. I'm so fat. And I say to her, how is the book? And she got upset. I think because from Monday to Wednesday, I was like, read the 10 pages. From Wednesday to Friday, read the 10 pages. And now we're here on Friday. I didn't read the fucking book. That's how she put it. And I said, why not? And she's, because I want to lose weight. I don't want to fucking read. And I said, I understand that. But what I want you to get is 90% of this process is mindset. It's what's going on in your mind. You take care of that part, your body will follow. And I'm trying to work on the mindset, because every time I say hello to you in the morning, I was like, hey, good morning. The first words out of your mouth are about how fat you are. And if that's the mindset that you're leading with, your body's not going to want to change. So she was still upset. She was like, I don't fucking care. I paid you to help me lose weight, and I don't want to read a fucking book. And I was like, okay, then we're probably not a good fit for each other. We ended up firing each other that day. And I've told friends over the years, that was good money that I was getting for this client. And for me just to walk away from it, I don't care about the money. At that time, I cared about helping people and making sure that my clients had all the right tools. One day when we talk about the physical project, I'll probably get into this story more. But what's important is it's a simple process. All we're asking you to do is read 10 pages of a book or whatever you want to ingest mentally, so that you can start adjusting your mindset. All day long, we're presented with negativity. We're thrown with bullshit. I've mentioned before, as single dads, we get like pulled in 1,000 million different directions, and stress hits us because our whatever stuff with our kids, stuff with our ex, working on the job front or business front for some of you. And so one of the ways to combat that is you got to find the sources that'll feed you the positive stuff, so that you don't take in the negative and let that be a part of who you are. Like my client, like I said, every morning it was, I'm so fat, I'm so fat, I'm so fat. And I was just like, okay, here's the problem. It's not your body, it's your mindset. Which takes us into the next project, which is the physical project. The theme here for the girls was prioritize stress management and resilience through activity. What that means is Heidi had tips for like nature walks and resilient actions. Tareai was using music and workouts like Aquafit to get relief from stress. And Megan's focus on self-care through physical activity, emphasizing managing stress and staying strong. So physical movement, whether in nature, through exercise, boosts energy and models health for your kids. Why it matters? It matters because staying physically active reduces stress. It's inherent. All of us know this. It improves your health and demonstrates resilience to your children. The takeaway or the tip that I have for you here today is schedule 10 to 20 minutes daily for a stress-relieving activity. And that could be a walk in nature, listening to uplifting music, or even something as simple as stretching. I remember when I was teaching the boot camps, I would have people say to me, man, the stretching is just as much of a workout as the workout was. And no shit, if you do the stretching right, it'll feel that way. So invite your kids to join you in a model of healthy habits. That's the takeaway for the physical project. On the financial project, the theme that the girls talked about was secure stability through strategic planning and investment. What that means is Tareai's focus was on prioritizing housing and investing for the future, combined with Megan's strategic divorce planning, annual financial reviews, and use of incentives for peace that highlight the need for proactive financial management. Securing essentials and planning for growth provide stability and reduce conflict. So why it matters? Financial stability ensures a secure home and future options for your family and minimizing stress. Again, these are like inherent. We all know this stuff, right? I was actually texting a friend who, if the schedules work out right, will interview for the single dad interviews later this next month, coming up in a couple of days. And one of the things he wrote was, because we were talking about work and money and shit, And yeah, I don't do the things that I say I should do. And it's one of those things, like I said, all of this is inherent. You got to use the tools to remind yourself to, hey, stay on top of this. So with the financial one, again, it's to stabilize your wealth, secure your home, have future options for your family, and minimize stress. The tip here, the takeaway is review your budget to prioritize housing, research one investment option. Could be something like a Roth IRA if you want to look into putting money somewhere. And outline a clear financial plan to avoid co-parenting disputes. I think this is the most important one. You want to take care of your shit, obviously, but you want to figure out your finances with your ex so that everything is squared away. You guys don't need to fight over that stuff when it comes to kids and everything. On our last project, the business project, the theme was to build a legacy through entrepreneurial action and preparation. What that means is Heidi was using the pursuit of passion-driven businesses, Tareai's side hustles like braiding hair, and Megan's organization of divorce paperwork, advocacy and legal processes, and entrepreneurial mindset. So basically she was helping others with divorce stuff. All this emphasized turning skills and preparation into opportunities. The actions support your family and model initiatives. So basically the idea here was, what are the little things that you are passionate about or find an interest in? It's like, how do I take the hobby, if you want to call it that, the hobby that I have, and turn it into something that can make money? One of the things that I talked about in the show was using a money idea or a business idea, using a business idea and incorporating that with your kids. So like coming up with like a lemonade stand, or coming up with crafts that you can build with your kids and selling them on Etsy, things like that. So why it matters: entrepreneurial ventures and organized planning provide financial freedom and teach your kids perseverance. The takeaway here, practical tip, is identify one skill or passion, such as coaching, fixing cars, and take it one step further to monetize that. How would you monetize coaching or fixing cars? List it as a service online. Like I said, if you are actually creating little things, put it on Etsy. If you're fixing cars, you can show people how to fix cars on YouTube and find ways to monetize that. Coming down to the conclusion here, these 6 themes, or the projects, basically what I call the projects, are drawn from Heidi, Tareai, and Megan's insights, offering a streamlined guide for single dads to thrive across the 6 projects. Start with one takeaway today, whether it's a spiritual practice, an intellectual input, or a business step. Each action strengthens you and builds a lasting legacy for your children. Keep moving forward one project at a time. So basically, the idea behind the show is every show that I have where we talk about the projects, whether it's the business project, the financial project, the physical project, I'm giving you a little practical tip. Take this action step. And the way it works, or the way we're trying to make it work here, is it's just do one a day or do one per week. Some of us have crazy schedules. We get busy with a lot of shit. Something as simple as taking a nature walk for your spiritual, relational project. And by relational, like you could take a walk with your kid and just have a little talk or whatever. So if you do that once a day, or if you don't have your kids that often, once a week or once every 2 weeks, that's how I'm looking at doing the projects for building. The little quote that I had way in the beginning when we started the show a couple of months ago was building better lives one project at a time. You're taking one project and you're just building on it. So with that, I want to thank the girls that came out to do the interview with us. All 3 of them are friends of mine. Thank you, Heidi. Thank you, Tareai. Thank you, Megan, for your insights and for doing the interview with us. For the other moms that were out there that had scheduling conflicts, I'd love to still have you on the show. For the month of June, we are going to be focusing on single dads. So I got some interviews with dads scheduled. Hopefully there's no scheduling conflicts with the dads, but if there are, we'll figure it out. And then at the end of the month of June, we'll put a summary together just like we did with the girls and get their ideas, single dad ideas on what helped them as single dads go through this single dad experience. So with that, my name is Henry. PJ's over to my right. Thank you for attending the show, and we'll see you in the next one. Peace.